The night sky over New York City lit up with an unusual glow. At first, people thought it was just another light show. But as the glow grew stronger, everyone realized this was something different. Something they had never seen before. High above the city, strange ships appeared. They were unlike anything humans had ever built. These ships looked delicate, almost like soap bubbles floating in the air. They shimmered with soft, pastel colors that changed as they moved. Inside the ships were the Zephyrians. They were aliens, but not the kind people expected. No green skin or big eyes here. The Zephyrians looked fragile, like they were made of glass. Their bodies were thin and tall, with skin that you could almost see through. They had 4 arms and large, gentle eyes that seemed to hold great sadness. As the ships came closer, people started to panic. Some ran for cover, while others stood frozen, staring at the sky. The military rushed to get ready, not sure if this was an invasion or something else. Then, something unexpected happened. The largest ship sent out a message. It wasn't in any human language, but somehow, everyone could understand it. The message was simple but shocking. People of Earth, we come in peace. We are the Zephyrians, and we need your help. Our home is gone, and the galaxy has turned its back on us. You are our last hope. The message played over and over. Slowly, the fear turned into curiosity, and then into sympathy. These aliens weren't here to attack. They were refugees, looking for a safe place to call home. World leaders quickly gathered to discuss what to do. Some wanted to turn the Zephyrians away, worried about the problems they might bring. Others argued that it was their duty to help. As the debate went on, more was learned about the Zephyrians. They were a peaceful race, advanced in technology, but physically weak. Their home planet had been destroyed by a natural disaster, and they had spent years looking for a new home. But everywhere they went, they were turned away. Other alien races saw them as a burden, too weak to be useful. Earth was their last chance. If humans said no, the Zephyrians would have nowhere else to go. The decision wasn't easy, but in the end, humanity chose compassion. Earth would welcome the Zephyrians and give them a chance to build a new life. As the news spread, reactions were mixed. Many humans opened their hearts to these strange but gentle aliens. They set up welcome centers and gathered supplies to help the newcomers settle in. Others were scared or angry, worried about sharing their world with beings from another planet. The Zephyrians were grateful beyond words. As their ships landed and they took their first steps on Earth, many of them wept with joy. They had been traveling for so long, always afraid, always unwanted. Now, finally, they had found a place that would give them a chance. One young Zephyrian, named Zil, looked around in wonder at the crowds of humans. Some were cheering, some were quiet, but none were attacking. Zil turned to the Zephyrian leader and asked, "Is this really happening? Will they really let us stay?" The leader, old and tired from their long journey, smiled for the first time in years. "Yes, Zil, we have found a new home. These humans, they are different from the others we met. They see our weakness, but they also see our worth. Here, we have a chance to live, to grow, and maybe even to become strong." As the sun set on that historic day, the Zephyrians began to settle in. They knew the road ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, misunderstandings, and hard work. But for the first time in a long time, they had hope. And the humans, as they watched these delicate beings start their new lives, felt a mix of emotions: fear, excitement, curiosity, and pride. They had taken a huge risk by welcoming the Zephyrians. Only time would tell if it was the right choice. But for now, as the stars came out over a changed Earth, there was a feeling of new beginnings. 2 races from different worlds were about to start a journey together. A journey that would change them both forever. The days following the Zephyrians' arrival were filled with excitement and tension. World leaders gathered in New York City for a historic meeting with the alien visitors. They chose a large conference room in the United Nations building for this important event. As the human delegates entered the room, they couldn't help but stare at the Zephyrians. The aliens looked even more fragile up close. Their thin bodies seemed to sway gently, like grass in a breeze. Their skin sparkled faintly under the bright lights. The Zephyrian leader, San, stepped forward. Though he was tall, he moved carefully, as if afraid he might break. When he spoke, his voice was soft but clear. "Thank you for meeting with us," Kaan said. "We know our arrival has caused much confusion and concern." The room was silent as San explained their situation. He told of their home world's destruction, of their long journey through space, and of the many planets that had turned them away. "We are not warriors or conquerors," San said. "We are scholars, artists, and scientists. Our bodies may be weak, but our minds are strong. We hope to share our knowledge with you, in exchange for a place to call home." The human leaders listened with mixed feelings. Some were moved by the Zephyrian story. Others were more cautious. "How do we know you're telling the truth?" One leader asked. "How can we be sure you're not a threat?" San nodded, understanding their concern. "We expected such questions. That is why we brought this." He gestured, and another Zephyrian brought forward a small, glowing cube. San explained that it was a database containing their history, scientific knowledge, and cultural information. "We offer this freely," Tan said. "Examine it. Learn about us. We have nothing to hide." The human scientists in the room were amazed. Even from a quick look, they could see that the Zephyrian technology was far beyond their own. The cube alone could advance human science by decades. As the meeting went on, the humans began to see the potential benefits of helping the Zephyrians. These aliens had knowledge that could help solve many of Earth's problems. Their advanced technology could lead to new medical treatments, cleaner energy, and much more. But there were also concerns. Where would the Zephyrians live? How would they adapt to Earth's environment? And how would ordinary people react to having aliens as neighbors? The discussions went on for hours. Finally, a decision was reached. Earth would welcome the Zephyrians, but with conditions. The aliens would be settled in specially prepared areas at first. They would share their knowledge and technology gradually, to avoid overwhelming human society. And there would be a probation period to ensure the safety of both species. San agreed to these terms, grateful for any chance to start a new life. As the meeting ended, he turned to the human leaders with tears in his large eyes. "You have given us hope," he said. "For that, we will be forever grateful." As news of the decision spread, reactions around the world were mixed. Many people were excited about the possibilities. Scientists couldn't wait to learn from the Zephyrians. Doctors hoped the aliens' advanced knowledge could help cure diseases. But others were afraid. Some people protested, saying the aliens would take jobs or spread strange diseases. A few groups even threatened violence against the Zephyrians. To address these fears, the governments launched a massive public information campaign. They shared videos of the Zephyrians, showing how peaceful and fragile they were. They explained the potential benefits of the aliens' knowledge. Slowly, public opinion began to shift. More and more people became curious about their new galactic neighbors. Children were especially fascinated, eagerly learning all they could about the Zephyrians. As the first month came to an end, the Zephyrians began to settle into their new homes on Earth. It wasn't always easy. The aliens struggled with Earth's gravity and had to wear special suits to move comfortably. They found human food strange and had to have special meals prepared. But despite these challenges, both humans and Zephyrians were trying their best to make this unusual situation work. It was the beginning of a new era for both species, full of potential and unknown possibilities. As San watched the sun set on their new homeworld, he felt a mix of hope and worry. "We have found refuge," he thought. But our journey is far from over. 3 months had passed since the Zephyrians arrived on Earth. The initial excitement had faded, and now both humans and aliens faced the real challenges of living together. In New Delhi, a young Zephyrian named Lyra was trying to learn how to cook human food. She stood in a community kitchen, her 4 slender arms carefully holding various utensils. Around her, human volunteers watched with a mix of curiosity and amusement. "Like this?" Lyra asked, stirring a pot of curry. The spicy smell made her large eyes water. "Almost," said Priya, her human teacher. "But be careful, your skin." Before Priya could finish, Lyra let out a small cry. A drop of hot curry had splashed onto her delicate skin, leaving a red mark. This scene was playing out in various ways all over the world. The Zephyrians, used to their own technology and environment, struggled with many aspects of daily life on Earth. Their fragile bodies were easily hurt, and Earth's gravity made movement difficult for them. Meanwhile, in a research lab in Tokyo, human scientists worked alongside Zephyrian experts. They were studying the aliens' advanced technology, hoping to understand it. Dr. Tanaka, the lead human scientist, shook his head in frustration. "It's like trying to teach calculus to a caveman," he muttered. "Their science is so advanced, it's hard for us to even grasp the basics." Zen, his Zephyrian partner, placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Patience, friend," Zen said. "Remember, we had thousands of years to develop this knowledge. You will understand in time." These kinds of cultural and technological gaps were causing tension in many places. Some humans felt threatened by the Zephyrians' superior technology. Others were frustrated by how much care the fragile aliens needed. In a small town in Brazil, a group of angry protesters gathered outside a Zephyrian housing complex. They held signs that read "Earth for Humans" and "Go Home, Aliens." Inside, a Zephyrian child named Vox watched the protesters with fear in his large eyes. "Why do they hate us?" he asked his caretaker. The older Zephyrian sighed. "They don't hate us, Vox. They're just afraid of what's different. We must show them we mean no harm." But not all interactions were negative. In many places, humans and Zephyrians were forming strong bonds. In a park in Cape Town, a group of human and Zephyrian children played together. The human kids were gentle with their alien friends, helping them navigate the playground equipment. "Look, I can swing," shouted a Zephyrian girl named Zira. Her human friends cheered as she swung back and forth, her delicate form glowing with joy. As weeks passed, more positive stories began to emerge. In hospitals, Zephyrian medical knowledge was helping to treat diseases that had once been considered incurable. Their clean energy technology was being implemented in cities around the world, leading to clearer skies and cleaner water. But the greatest impact was happening in schools. Young humans, with their open minds, were learning Zephyrian language and culture alongside their alien classmates. These children were growing up seeing the Zephyrians not as strange aliens, but as friends and neighbors. In a classroom in London, a human boy named Tom raised his hand. "Miss," he said to his teacher, "why do some people say the Zephyrians are weak? They're so smart and kind. I think that makes them strong." The teacher smiled, glancing at the Zephyrian students in the class. "That's a very wise observation, Tom," she said. "Strength comes in many forms." As the first year of coexistence neared its end, both species were learning valuable lessons. Humans were learning to be more gentle and patient, while the Zephyrians were gradually adapting to the physical challenges of life on Earth. Zan, the Zephyrian leader, met with the UN Secretary General to discuss their progress. "It hasn't been easy," Zan admitted, "but we are grateful for every day here. We see now that our weakness has taught us empathy, and your strength has taught you compassion. Perhaps together, we can become something greater than either of us could be alone." The Secretary General nodded. "We have a long way to go," she said, "but I believe we're on the right path." As they looked out over the city, where humans and Zephyrians walked side by side, both leaders felt a glimmer of hope for the future. The journey of integration was far from over, but the first steps had been taken. It was a quiet night at the International Space Station. Astronaut Sarah Chen was about to go to sleep when a strange alarm started blaring. She rushed to the main control panel, her heart racing. "Mission Control, we have an unidentified object approaching Earth at high speed," she reported, her voice tense. Back on Earth, in a joint human-Zephyrian command center, screens lit up with urgent messages. The object Sarah had spotted was massive, easily the size of a small moon. San, the Zephyrian leader, felt a chill run through his delicate body. He recognized the ship's design. "No," he whispered, his large eyes wide with fear. "They found us." As governments around the world went into emergency mode, San called an urgent meeting with Earth's leaders. It was time to reveal the full truth about why the Zephyrians had fled their home. "The ship approaching Earth belongs to the Draxians," San explained, his voice trembling. "They are a powerful empire that has conquered much of our galaxy. We fled because they were coming to enslave our people." The room erupted in shock and anger. "You brought them here," one leader shouted. "You've put our entire planet in danger." San lowered his head in shame. "We hoped they wouldn't follow us this far," he said softly. "We are so sorry." As the arguments raged, a young human scientist named Dr. Maya Patel spoke up. "Wait," she said, her voice cutting through the noise. "Instead of blaming the Zephyrians, shouldn't we be figuring out how to defend ourselves?" Her words brought a tense silence to the room. She was right, and everyone knew it. Earth had just become a target for a powerful alien empire, and they needed to act fast. Over the next few days, the true nature of the threat became clear. The Draxians sent a message to Earth, demanding the surrender of all Zephyrians. If Earth refused, the Draxians threatened to destroy the planet. Panic spread across the world as the news leaked out. Some people wanted to hand over the Zephyrians to save themselves. Others argued that doing so would be wrong, and that the Draxians would probably attack anyway. In the midst of the chaos, something unexpected happened. Humans and Zephyrians, facing a common enemy, began to work together like never before. In a hidden facility deep underground, Dr. Patel worked frantically with a team of human and Zephyrian scientists. They were trying to combine Earth's most powerful weapons with Zephyrian technology to create a defense system. "If we can just stabilize the energy output," Dr. Patel muttered, her eyes red from lack of sleep. Beside her, a Zephyrian named Zix made delicate adjustments with his 4 hands. "Like this?" he asked, and suddenly the machine hummed to life. Dr. Patel's face lit up with hope. "Yes, we did it." Similar scenes were playing out all over the world. Humans were teaching Zephyrians how to fight and build shelters, while Zephyrians shared their knowledge of advanced space technology. In orbit, human and Zephyrian pilots trained together in newly designed hybrid spacecraft. Captain John Martinez, a top human pilot, was amazed at how quickly his Zephyrian co-pilot, Lyra, learned to handle the controls. "You're a natural," he said, grinning at her. Lyra's delicate face flushed with pride. "We may be physically weak," she said, "but we are quick learners." On the ground, cities were being fortified. Zephyrian shield technology was combined with human construction methods to create powerful defenses. Children helped by making supply kits and comforting those who were afraid. As the Draxian ship drew closer, Earth prepared for the biggest fight in its history. The planet that had once been divided over the arrival of the Zephyrians was now united in its determination to resist the invaders. San stood with the world's leaders as they made a joint broadcast to the people of Earth. "We face a great threat," he said, his voice strong despite his fragile appearance. "But we face it together, Zephyrians and humans, side by side." The U.S. president nodded in agreement. "We may have once seen the Zephyrians as weak," she said, "but now we understand that true strength lies in unity, in compassion, and in the will to stand up for what's right." As the broadcast ended, people around the world cheered. Humans and Zephyrians hugged each other, no longer separated by their differences, but united by their shared hope and determination. The Draxian ship loomed ever larger in the sky. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and the fate of two races hung in the balance. The massive Draxian ship hung in the sky like a dark cloud, casting a shadow over the entire planet. On the ground, humans and Zephyrians worked side by side, preparing for the battle that would determine their fate. In a secret underground base, Dr. Maya Patel and her Zephyrian partner, Zix, put the finishing touches on their new weapon. It was a strange mix of human and Zephyrian technology. Bulky human computers connected to delicate Zephyrian crystals. "Do you think it will work?" Dr. Patel asked, her voice filled with worry. Zix placed one of his 4 hands on her shoulder. "It has to," he said simply. Meanwhile, in a military training camp, Captain John Martinez watched as a group of Zephyrians struggled to lift human weapons. Their thin arms shook with the effort. "This isn't working," John muttered to himself. Then an idea struck him. "Hey," he called out, "what if we used our telekinesis instead?" The Zephyrians looked at each other in surprise. They had always seen their mental abilities as a sign of weakness compared to human physical strength. But now, with John's encouragement, they began to lift the weapons with their minds. John grinned as he watched the guns float in the air. "Now that's what I call firepower." As the days passed, more and more examples of human-Zephyrian cooperation emerged. In hospitals, Zephyrian healers used their empathic abilities to calm injured humans, while human doctors performed surgeries that the physically weak Zephyrians couldn't manage. In factories, humans operated heavy machinery to build defenses, guided by Zephyrian engineers who could see flaws invisible to human eyes. Even children got involved. In schools, human kids taught their Zephyrian friends how to play sports and climb trees. In return, the Zephyrian children showed humans how to meditate and control their emotions. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Tensions still ran high in many places. Some humans still blamed the Zephyrians for bringing the Draxians to Earth, and some Zephyrians felt that humans were too aggressive and reckless. In one city, a fight broke out between human and Zephyrian workers. Angry words were exchanged, and it looked like things might turn violent. But then something amazing happened. A young human girl named Lily stepped between the arguing groups. She was holding hands with her Zephyrian friend, Vox. "Stop fighting," Lily shouted. "We're supposed to be friends." The adults fell silent, ashamed. Vox spoke up, his voice quiet but clear. "We're scared," he said. "All of us. But we're stronger together than we are apart." The fight ended, and the workers went back to their tasks, this time with a new understanding. As the day of the Draxian attack drew near, world leaders gathered for one final meeting. The room was tense as they discussed their strategy. Sen, the Zephyrian leader, stood up to speak. "We have always seen our physical weakness as a flaw," he said, "but now we understand that it has given us other strengths: patience, empathy, and the ability to see beyond the physical world." The U.S. president nodded, "And we humans have learned that our physical strength isn't everything. We've gained so much from your knowledge and your different way of seeing things." Together, they laid out their plan. Human soldiers would form the front lines, protected by Zephyrian force fields. Zephyrian pilots would guide human-built spaceships, combining human reflexes with Zephyrian spatial awareness. And on the ground, the new hybrid weapons would be their secret advantage. As the meeting ended, San turned to the human leaders. "Whatever happens," he said, "know that we are honored to stand with you. You took us in when no one else would. You are our home now, and we will defend it with all we have." The human leaders reached out to clasp San's delicate hands. In that moment, the last barriers between their species fell away. They were no longer humans and Zephyrians. They were Earthlings, united against a common threat. As they stepped out of the meeting room, they saw a crowd had gathered outside. Humans and Zephyrians stood together, holding candles in a vigil for peace. The sight brought tears to many eyes. The Draxian ship edged closer, its weapons primed. But Earth was ready. United and determined, they prepared to face the greatest challenge in human history: The battle for Earth was about to begin. The day had finally come. The Draxian ship loomed larger than ever in the sky, its massive shadow covering entire cities. On the ground, humans and Zephyrians stood side by side, ready to defend their shared home. As the first light of dawn broke, the Draxians made their move. Thousands of smaller ships poured out of the mothership, descending towards Earth like a swarm of angry bees. "This is it," Captain John Martinez said to his Zephyrian co-pilot, Lyra. "Ready?" Lyra's delicate hands gripped the controls of their hybrid spacecraft. "Ready," she replied, her large eyes focused on the approaching enemy. With a roar of engines, Earth's defenders took to the skies. Human-built ships, guided by Zephyrian spatial awareness, weaved through the Draxian attack force with incredible precision. On the ground, Dr. Maya Patel and Zix activated their new weapon. A pulse of energy shot into the sky, causing several Draxian ships to falter and crash. "It works," Dr. Patel shouted, hugging Zix in excitement. But the Draxians were powerful. Their advanced weapons tore through Earth's defenses, and soon they began to land troops. In New York, a group of Draxian soldiers marched down the street, their heavy armor clanking. They expected an easy victory against the weak humans and Zephyrians. What they found instead shocked them. A squad of human soldiers appeared, protected by shimmering Zephyrian force fields. Behind them, Zephyrians used their telekinetic powers to hurl debris at the invaders. The Draxians fell back, surprised by the unexpected resistance. Similar scenes play out all over the world. In Tokyo, Zephyrian healers worked tirelessly to save injured humans, their empathic abilities soothing pain and fear. In Rio de Janeiro, human construction workers used their strength to clear rubble, guided by Zephyrians who could sense people trapped underneath. But despite their valiant efforts, Earth's defenders were being pushed back. The Draxians' superior numbers and technology were overwhelming. In the secret underground base, San and the world leaders watched the battle unfold with growing despair. "We need to do something," the U.S. president said, her face grim, "or all is lost." Zan looked thoughtful. "There might be a way," he said slowly, "but it's dangerous, and we'll need both humans and Zephyrians to make it work." He explained his plan. The Zephyrians had a mental ability they had never shared before, the power to link minds over vast distances. If they could connect with enough humans, they might be able to create a psychic blast powerful enough to stun the Draxians. But it could harm the humans involved, Tan warned. "We've never attempted anything on this scale before." The human leaders looked at each other, then nodded. "We trust you," the U.S. president said. "Let's do it." The call went out. All over the world, humans and Zephyrians joined hands. In parks and plazas, on battlefields and in hospitals, they formed circles and closed their eyes. San stood in the center of one such circle, with Dr. Patel, Captain Martinez, and other key figures around him. "Focus on peace," he instructed, "on unity, on our shared home." As the Zephyrians began to glow with psychic energy, the humans felt a strange sensation. It was as if their minds were expanding, connecting with others across the globe. The Draxians, sensing something was happening, intensified their attack. But it was too late. With a flash of light that could be seen from space, the combined mental energy of humans and Zephyrians erupted. A wave of pure thought swept across the planet, overwhelming the Draxians' minds. In the sky, Draxian ships tumbled from the air, their pilots unconscious. On the ground, Draxian soldiers collapsed, stunned by the psychic blast. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, slowly, cheers began to rise from every corner of the earth. Humans and Zephyrians hugged each other, crying tears of joy and relief. The battle wasn't over. There were still enemy forces to deal with, and the huge mothership remained in orbit. But the tide had turned. Earth had won its first major victory against the Draxians. As the sun set on that historic day, the people of Earth, human and Zephyrian alike, knew that nothing would ever be the same again. They had faced an impossible challenge and triumphed, not through strength alone, but through unity, compassion, and the power of two very different species working as one. The battle for Earth had been won, but the war was far from over. Yet for the first time since the Draxians appeared, there was hope. Real, tangible hope for a future where all beings, no matter how different, could find a place to call home. The days following the great battle were filled with both celebration and hard work. All across the planet, humans and Zephyrians worked side by side to rebuild what had been destroyed. The Draxian mothership still loomed in the sky, a constant reminder that the war wasn't over, but Earth's victory had changed everything. In New York, Captain John Martinez and his Zephyrian co-pilot Lyra stood in the middle of Times Square. The once bustling area was now filled with med tents and supply stations. "I never thought I'd see the day when aliens were handing out food in New York City," John said with a chuckle. Lyra smiled, her delicate features brightening. "And I never thought I'd be considered a hero on an alien world," she replied. Their laughter was interrupted by a sudden commotion. People were pointing at the sky, shouting in excitement. The Draxian mothership was moving, but not to attack. It was leaving, retreating into the depths of space. Cheers erupted around the world as the news spread. The Draxians, faced with Earth's unexpected resistance and the power of human Zephyrian unity, had decided to withdraw. In the underground command center, world leaders and San watched the ship's departure on their screens. The room was filled with a mixture of relief and disbelief. "We did it," the U.S. president said, her voice filled with awe. "We actually did it." San nodded, his large eyes shimmering with emotion. "Not just us," he said. "All of us together." As the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, Earth began to change. The unity forged in battle didn't fade away but grew stronger. Humans and Zephyrians were no longer two separate species trying to coexist. They had become true partners, each bringing their unique strengths to build a better world. In laboratories around the globe, human scientists worked with Zephyrian researchers to develop new technologies. Dr. Maya Patel and Zix led a team that combined Zephyrian crystal technology with human computer systems, creating machines that could clean polluted air and water at an incredible rate. "It's amazing," Dr. Patel said as she watched a polluted river turn crystal clear in minutes. "We're not just rebuilding. We're making things better than they were before." Zix nodded in agreement. "And we're learning so much from each other in the process," he added. In schools, human and Zephyrian children studied together, learning about both Earth and Zephyrian history and culture. They grew up seeing diversity not as a challenge, but as a strength. Even in politics, things were changing. A year after the battle, the United Nations welcomed San as the first Zephyrian representative. As he took his seat, the assembly hall erupted in applause. "Today," San said in his address, "we are no longer refugees or hosts. We are one people, united in our commitment to peace, progress, and understanding." But perhaps the biggest change was in how Earth was seen by the rest of the galaxy. News of how this backward planet had defeated the Draxians spread far and wide. Soon, other alien races began to reach out, curious about the planet where two very different species had learned to work together so effectively. 5 years after the Zephyrians first arrived, Earth hosted its first Galactic Peace Conference. Representatives from dozens of alien races gathered in a specially built space station orbiting the planet. As Captain Martinez, now Admiral of Earth's new space fleet, looked out at the assembled aliens, he couldn't help but smile. Next to him stood Lyra, now his wife and the mother of their hybrid child, one of the first of a new generation of humans and Zephyrians. "You know," John said, "when you first arrived, we thought you were the weak ones who needed our protection." Lyra laughed softly. "And we thought you were the primitive ones who needed our guidance," she replied. "Turns out," John said, wrapping an arm around her, "we both had a lot to learn." As they watched the Earth rotate slowly below them, surrounded by ships and representatives from across the galaxy, they both felt a sense of pride and hope. The planet that had once been seen as a refuge of last resort for a weak alien race had become a beacon of unity and strength for the entire galaxy. Earth was no longer alone in the universe, and neither were the Zephyrians. Together, they had found not just a home, but a future, one filled with endless possibilities and the promise of a better tomorrow for all.